This is a second generation Dodge Ram 2500. It's got problems. We're going to go over some of the common ones. If you need any parts, check us out at 1aauto.com. My name's Len. Let's get into it. Now for our first problem, we're going to talk about transmission shiftability issues. On this particular truck, what you might happen to find is you have a shifting issue between first and second gear. That comes down to an internal transmission problem. The part that could be the problem would be the transmission pressure control solenoid. It's not necessarily the hardest part to replace, but you do have to actually drop the transmission pan, the valve body, and then you would be able to gain access to this part. While you're replacing this, you might as well also replace the pan gasket and the filter at the same time. And of course, you'd want to make sure that you fill it up with the manufacturer specified fluid. Now we can move along to our next problem. This one's going to come down to a brake pull. When you go ahead and step on that brake pedal, you can feel the vehicle pull to one side or the other. There's a couple different common causes for this. One of them could be a bad caliper. This is common because on these calipers themselves, they have dual pistons. If either of those pistons goes bad, or even the pads are stuck in the bracket, the caliper is not going to be able to function properly. When you step on the brakes, the other side caliper is going to be doing all the work and pull you in that direction. So if you are doing a caliper for any reason, it's always a good idea to make sure you replace them as a pair. Aside from the caliper itself, you might have an issue with the flex hose. That's common on these vehicles because there is a bracket that holds it to the frame, and if it gets rotted or swollen in any way, it's going to cause an issue where it restricts brake fluid flow. Now, aside from brake issues themselves, you might also have an issue with the front end parts. So when you step on the brake, the front end might have a little bit of looseness to it and it pulls the vehicle to one side or the other. So you want to make sure that you do a complete front end check, double check those ball joints, tie rods, and your track bar and drag links. And of course, it couldn't hurt to get yourself a four-wheel alignment. For our next couple problems, I'll be sitting inside of the passenger compartment. The first one I'll talk about while I'm in here is the front dash. If you have one of these vehicles, you know exactly what I'm about to say. They're extremely delicate. Of course, every time you park this thing in the sun, it's beaming down on the dash and it's starting to get dry and brittle. These dashboards themselves are made out of plastic, and when the plastic gets dry and brittle, it's very easy to crack. Part of the reason why this particular dashboard goes bad is because it's hollow underneath. I can stick my whole arm down inside this area. Now to fix this, what you could do is order yourself a brand new dash and replace the entire thing. Or go to 1aauto.com and order yourself a molded dash pad cover. That'll cover everything so you don't have to worry about it. Now the next problem that we're going to talk about is moisture making its way into the rear of your passenger compartment. If your vehicle had sliding windows like this right here, those windows will have to have a rubber seal. The rubber seal on this does make its way all the way across the bottom, each side, and across the top. Now, if the seal was dry rotted and brittle, or even cracked, it's going to allow the outside elements to make their way inside here, especially water. Of course, if that was to happen, you're going to have some mold and other issues on the inside of your vehicle, so this is something that you're going to want to take care of ASAP if you find that you're having that issue. Now, this truck comes with two different 5.9 liter engines. One of them is a gas engine and the other one's diesel. We have the gas engine here, so that'll be the problem that we talk about first. On this particular engine, you might have an issue with your intake gasket. That can lead to several different symptoms. Some of the symptoms you might have might be a check engine light and a running condition. That would be due to the fact that you have a vacuum leak drawing air into the engine, and the vehicle doesn't exactly know what's going on, so it can't mix the fuel properly, and you're going to find that you have a shaky engine and possibly sluggish acceleration. Aside from that, you might also find that you have excessive oil consumption. If the gasket was bad in between the belly of the engine where the oil is and the intake itself, the vacuum from the engine is going to start sucking that oil right up through that discrepancy in the gasket, drawing it into the combustion chamber, and it's going to get burnt up and sent out your tailpipe. If you found that you had any of these issues, you want to make sure that you remove the entire intake, take the plenum pan off the bottom, and replace the plenum pan gasket and the intake gaskets at the same time. As I had mentioned, some of these trucks will have the 5.9 liter diesel engine. If you have one of those, you might have different symptoms where maybe you try to start up the vehicle and it cranks, but doesn't start. If that's the case, go ahead and pop the hood and have a look right down in the driver's side front of your engine compartment. We're looking for the fuel injection pump. Off of the back side of that, you're going to have a little rubber grommet that leads to a fuel return line. It's possible for the rubber to be damaged, dry rotted and cracked, or even the return line to be rotted in some way. Now, if that's the case, it could possibly be allowing air to make its way into the fuel system, and it's starving for fuel, and you might find that you have a running condition. Okay, friends, we went over some of the top problems that we've come to find on the second generation Dodge 2500. If you've got one of these vehicles with problems of its own, tell me about it in the comments section below. Aside from that, I hope you liked the video. I hope you found it interesting. If there was something in this video that you think somebody else might be interested in, go ahead and share it with them. It would mean everything to me. If you like the video or love the video, go ahead and smash on that like button for me. It would mean the world. While you're at it, go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell. That way there you, all of your friends, can be kept up with all of our latest content. Thanks. This is a second generation Dodge Ram 2500. Whatever else Kyle said. If you need any parts, check us out from 1AAuto.com. My name's Len from 1A Auto. Kind of hurt my back, actually. Oh.